Another area which we just wanted to touch on quickly was a quick distinction between the tax treatment for voluntary contributions with a specific direction, which means forming part of the corpus or for the specific fund, as compared to pure voluntary contribution. The distinctions are mentioned in this table, but just to highlight that any donation which is given towards the corpus do not form part of the income of the organization, and therefore it is deemed as exempt under section 11(1)(d), even if not fully spent during the year, as compared to a pure voluntary contribution for which you need to apply at least 85% of the amount. Otherwise, you need to follow certain other procedures to accumulate the income. So this distinction is very important whenever you're receiving a grant, and you must appropriately allocate this in your accounts as well. Investment or surplus income, you need to apply the surplus income under certain specified assets. Those are mentioned under section 11(5) of the Income Tax Act. A quick summary of those mentioned herein. Unless the amounts which are accumulated for future are invested into any of these options, the authorities have a right to refuse the accumulation exemption that they've given to you in the past through filing of a Form 10. The ATG approval is for effectively the donors. This entitles them to get an exemption towards the amount which you are paying to your organization. Whenever any sort of a donation is received by you, there are a few things which you must keep in mind, which will benefit the donors, which means that the receipts should be properly serially numbered. The name of the donor needs to be mentioned, registration number of your organization needs to be mentioned, and a few other things that we've listed here. In order for the donor to get proper exemption, any donations in more than 10,000 rupees should not be in cash. Also, donations which are in the nature of gifts or in kind normally do not also qualify for tax reduction, and therefore we normally recommend to keep a clean track record and accept large donations through check or drafts, so that there is a clear trail which is available in terms of the source of the donations, and also keep with you the personal details of those people and the PAN number, so that in case of any scrutiny, you can always produce those documents before the authorities. Finally, in case there is a refusal, the commissioner or the DIT exemptions, then you have to apply to the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. You could also alternatively look at filing another application, but either of these two scenarios need to be carefully seen before proceeding and taking whatever decision you decide. Another thing which both from the donor and donee's perspective, it's an initiative taken out by the government. On this website, all registered organizations sorted state-wise are available for you to review. You can, whenever you're either granting money from your organization to the other, or just to establish the antecedents of a fellow organization, or from a donor's perspective, this is a very useful tool which has been started by the government and must be referred to. The other kind of exemption which is available is specifically for certain kinds of institutions and universities besides hospitals. This is an exemption under section 1023C. This is something which is not very well known of by a large number of organizations. Yet, in its ambit, this is restricted to only certain kinds of organizations which follow and which are obliged to comply with various guidelines. We've restricted ourselves in this discussion to only educational institutions which are available for exemption under section 1023C, subsection 3AD, as well as subsection 6. Again, we will not go into details of this, but this is another avenue which you could keep in mind in case you do comply with the obligations under this section.